have an Israeli source here, and the person that pretty much represents all the hostages' families telling you that Netanyahu has been lying and has prioritized the war and destroying Hamas over the hostages. Yet, when he does press releases, what does he say? Our number one objective is to get back the hostages. So he's telling the media one thing, but he's telling the family something else. And this guy is extremely credible. Why? Because he was the representative negotiator on behalf of the kidnapped victims' families. This one fact alone that I'm showing you guys discredits the entire fucking war. Here's Yoav Galant. He was the defense minister at the time, and here he is on Israeli television. This came out 2 months ago. Okay? And it asks here, was the order given to use the Hannibal Directive? Was the order given to use the Hannibal Directive? And this is how he responds. I think tactically in some places it was. In other places it was not, and that is a problem. So it's a problem they didn't kill their own people? Galant? So not only is he saying that it was activated, he's saying it should have been activated in other places.
Let me say a few.
This is coming directly from their defense minister, by the way, chat. I said that the Hannibal Directive was activated way before he did this interview, and people called me a wild, anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist. But you got Yoav Galant, who is basically their Pete Hegseth, the top military guy, admitting that they activated on that day, and they should have activated in some other places as well, basically. By the way, the ICC has issued an arrest warrant for Yoav Galant, and he is no longer the defense minister. Now, here's a big one. Number 4, the bring the hostages back lie. This is probably one of the linchpins of this entire conflict. Many don't know that a deal was actually put in place on or about October 10, 2023, 3 days after the attack, to get all the hostages back in exchange for the IDF to not invade Gaza. Netanyahu refused and invaded anyway. How do I know this? It was reported by an Israeli to Israeli media. The mass bombing and starvation killed several of the prisoners. Hamas did not kill any hostages. Why? Let's use logic. And when I say hostages, I mean as in the ones that they brought back to Gaza. Why would they kidnap and kill the only levers they have to stop the war? It makes zero sense. The whole purpose of hostages is to negotiate and not kill them, as it's their only bargaining tool. Guys, keep in mind, the IDF is superior to Hamas in every way. They have air power, they have great ground power, they have intelligence, they have satellites. Hamas can't compete. The only bargaining chip they have is the hostages. So here's the other thing too I want you guys to know. If they actually killed the hostages like they're claiming, right? If they're actually killing the hostages like they're claiming, why did they go to great lengths to hide them in the tunnels? Why did they go through great lengths to keep where they are secret? If they wanted to actually kill them, they would do what they always do. Bring them out in public, drag them. This is what happens in the Middle East, by the way. This is how they got Gaddafi. This is what they would have done to Bashar al-Assad. Anytime they get someone who's an enemy of their state, they kill them publicly. So if they really wanted to kill these hostages like they're claiming, why not just drag them out to the streets of Gaza and kill them? They didn't do that, though. Why? Because it's absolutely antithetical to their purpose, which is to do what? Get hostages back. Let's just use logic here. Why would they go ahead and give up their only bargaining chip? And for some of you guys that don't believe me, here we go, because I came with sources on this one. Look at this. Times of Israel. We later found out that Hamas had offered on October 9th or 10th to release all the civilian hostages in exchange for the IDF not entering the Strip, but the government rejected the offer. Wait, what? This is an Israeli source, by the way, from Israeli media. I didn't pull this off Al Jazeera. We later found out that Hamas had offered on October 9th or 10th to release all the civilian hostages in exchange for the IDF not entering the Strip, but the government rejected the offer. Now, here's the actual article. And I'd be happy to drop this on the chat for you guys. No doubt Netanyahu preventing hostage deal charges ex-spokesman of Families Forum. Chaim Rubenstein claims Israel rejected early Hamas offer to free all civilians if IDF didn't enter Gaza. Lays out PM's alleged political meddling that led him to quit next month. Long story short, this guy Rubenstein, okay, was like an advocate for the victims' families. And he was pushing to get the hostages back. And what he quickly realized from the Israeli government was that the intention was never to actually get the hostages back. Rather, it was to use them as political pawns to continue the conflict. I'll drop the link in here so you guys can read it yourself. Okay? But this is why Rubenstein basically began meeting with relatives and abductees. One of these he met was Mosh or Evan Turner, Or's brother. Right? let's go here. Okay, do you feel like the government was ignoring you? Absolutely. No representative of the government or the IDF had updated the families of the hostages that the IDF was beginning its ground offensive in the Gaza Strip. We couldn't understand how it could be that families weren't getting updated on the ramifications this could have for them. How did you deal with this? On that day, October 26, I called on the families to come to Hostages Square in Tel Aviv. At the assembly, we announced that the Prime Minister and the Defense Minister must meet the families, but there was no response to that from Netanyahu or Yoav Galant's offices. Remember, Yoav Galant, the guy I just showed you guys. So we said that if we don't get an immediate response, the families would camp outside the Kiryat IDF headquarters in Tel Aviv. After that, Galant promised in a statement to meet the families the next day. We told him we weren't willing to wait. That evening, Netanyahu's office announced that he would meet the families' representatives. What was the atmosphere like? We left the meeting very disappointed because Netanyahu talked about dismantling Hamas as the goal of the war. You heard that? Netanyahu talked about dismantling Hamas as the goal of the war. He didn't promise anything regarding the demand to return the hostages. He merely said a military operation in Gaza was needed to serve as leverage for the hostages' release. And then, back to what I told you guys before, we later found out Hamas had offered on October 9th or 10th to release all the civilians hostages in exchange for the IDF not entering the Strip, but the government rejected the offer. Did Benny Gantz and Gadi Eisenkot support your effort, or were they not active on that front? 5 days after the war began, the centrist opposition National Unity Party joined the emergency government, with its leader, Gantz, getting a spot on the 3-member war cabinet and MK Eisenhower becoming an observer in the key decision-making panel. Both Gantz and Eisenhower are former IDF chiefs of staff. We work with them all the time. Anytime we wanted to meet with them, they agreed. They pressured Netanyahu to make a deal, but Netanyahu sidelined them. The families are still asking Gantz not to leave the government, as many government critics have increasingly been urging them to. You guys know why? Because he's tired. Netanyahu wants him gone because he's tired of him asking about the families and the hostages. How come the first hostage deal was relatively quick, 53 days since the war began, but the second deal has been pushed off for 200 days? Rubenstein said that he has no doubt that the protest march to Jerusalem that he organized brought about the November deal, in which over 100 women and children were released in exchange for a week-long truce in Israel freeing female and underage Palestinian security prisoners. The main reason is Prime Minister's refusal. On the one hand, Netanyahu told the families that the price, likely the release of countless Palestinian terror convicts, isn't a factor. On the other hand, he's holding on to all sorts of security excuses to prevent the deal. So what do we observe here, guys? We see the doublespeak, we see the contradictions, and we see the lies. At the beginning of this podcast, I gave you guys a monologue and explained to you about why the hostages were never really the intention in the first place, and how they're being used as political pawns to continue this wider conflict all across the Middle East. And some of you guys said, oh, Myron, conspiracy theory, blah, blah, blah. So I have an Israeli source here, and the person that pretty much represents all the hostages' families telling you that Netanyahu has been lying and has prioritized the war and destroying Hamas over the hostages. Yet, when he does press releases, what does he say? Our number one objective is to get back the hostages. So he's telling the media one thing, but he's telling the family something else. And this guy is extremely credible. Why? Because he was the representative negotiator on behalf of the kidnapped victims' families. And this comes from Israeli media itself. This fact alone, this one fact alone that I'm showing you guys, discredits the entire fucking war. The cold hard truth is, Israel could have gotten their hostages back days after this incident occurred. But they chose not to. Because Netanyahu chose war over peace. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play devil's advocate here. I know a lot of Israelis might say, well, Myron, if Netanyahu agreed to that and allowed Hamas to give the hostages back in exchange for not bombing them, that would incentivize terrorists to do it again. And I would say that's a fair argument. It is. But here's why that argument falls flat on its face, and why many Zionists don't want to debate me about this topic. The state of Israel has the most sophisticated intelligence apparatus in the world, second maybe to the United States. The Mossad, Shin Bet, Unit 8200, and other assets are really good at what they do. Why are they so good at what they do? Because the IDF is a limited military force. They don't have the necessary soldiers to actually conduct warfare. So what they rely upon is sophisticated technology, informants and their intelligence agencies to conduct proxy and clandestine warfare. The Mossad has the most accomplished assassinations of any intelligence agency in the world. This includes Iranian scientists, nuclear specialists, political adversaries, and many more. Basically, anyone that challenged Israel's ability to defend itself or sovereignty has been eliminated. They're very good at what they do. They conducted a sophisticated pager attack, which I've literally said myself is one of the craziest, most creative, ingenious ways to conduct warfare. They put bombs in pagers, walkie-talkies, and other what would be considered older communication devices and detonated them all on the same day and killed and or crippled several members of Hezbollah. Not only did this create a fear factor, but it also created a lot of cerebral tension for the military and killed morale. Even Hassan Nasrallah himself went and spoke after the pager attack, and you could see the look in his eyes. He looked pretty defeated. And then days later, Israel bombed and killed him with intelligence. They knew exactly where he was, and they bombed and killed him. Then, or prior to this, they did a targeted assassination on a guy named Ismail Haniyeh. He was in Tehran, Iran. He was in their enemy territory, and they were able to put a bomb in one of the rooms that he stays in oftentimes and blow it up. They killed him and his bodyguard. Precision. Why am I telling you guys all this? I'm telling you guys this. Oh, and one more thing. Israel has the capability of getting missiles that eliminate floors in a building. So, in other words, if they have information that a subject is on a certain floor of a building or certain wing, they can get a missile that will destroy that part of the building while keeping the rest of the building intact to minimize civilian casualties. Why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you this, guys, to let you understand that Israel has enormous military and intelligence capabilities. So for Netanyahu to have the opportunity to get the hostages back with no warfare, no blood on his hands, no decimation of the Israeli state's reputation on the world stage, he should have taken it. Because what he could have done was take the hostages back, initiate a mission, like they always do, by the way, with special forces, go into Gaza surreptitiously, like they always do, and eliminate the heads of Hamas in a clandestine fashion, or military fighters in a clandestine fashion. As a matter of fact, if he had taken that route, it probably would have been better. Why? Because after the hostages were released, Hamas might let their guard down a little bit. Okay, we could chill. All right, that stress is gone. They're not air bombing us. We get back to hostages, we're good. They'd be a bit more relaxed. Great. Now, leverage your sources. Israel has thousands of Arab sources, Palestinian, Egyptian, etc. Leverage the sources, use your special forces, eliminate them that way. But he didn't want to do that. He wanted to just say, fuck it. I finally got the justification I've been looking for. I'm going to bomb these motherfuckers to hell. But what Netanyahu didn't understand is that this would destroy the state of Israel's reputation on the world stage and lead to the mass awakening that you guys are currently seeing going on right now in the United States. So, to bring this all back and put this on a bow for you guys, if you want, next time you're debating a Zionist about October 7th, you can simply say, Netanyahu had the opportunity to get those hostages back, but he chose not to. He chose war instead. He chose to bomb instead. He chose to attack Gaza from an indiscriminate standpoint. And in the process, not only did he kill innocent children and innocent people, because Gaza's 50% underage, by the way. Half their population is literally children. He did it, and he could have gotten the hostages back. When they have a capable intelligence service that could have went ahead and eliminated these targets of theirs without all the bloodshed. Now, I'm not delusional. I know that would have taken years. It would have taken him maybe twice, 3 times as long to get Hassan Nasrallah, to get Ismail Haniyeh, to get Yahya Sinwar, like he did in a year. It would have been much longer. But he's absolutely tarnished Israel's reputation in the process. And, again, don't forget, he had a personal incentive to do this because he was going through a trial. So what's the bottom line? Netanyahu recklessly disregarded the safety of his hostages and chose to not get them back so that he can bomb and destroy Gaza, level it, wage a war on all its proxies, and stay in power while simultaneously avoiding jail. And that, my friends, is a cold hard truth that no Zionist can deny. And this is why they're scared to talk to people like me or Sheikh Suleiman. When you know all the facts, you start to realize that Israel's war on terror or defending itself is inexcusable.